All right.
That's on.
And shave Mr. White's head. You want to know why? Because there's a razor in the back. And he took a huge stripe right down Will's head.
It's good to see you guys.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Wow,
Thank you. Where's the bones?
I don't know.
Yeah.
I was gonna make comments, but is that currently?
That's the live stream currently.
Is it actually is it on?
Why is this right next to me, of all people? You mean I'm gonna have to mute myself? Yeah. People are commenting.
Literally.
Oh my god.
Totally. Also, John Bowen.
They're coming.
I hope so.
Just good friends from
I know a lot of people, or I know a lot of spouses, but I don't say hi because it's something awkward. It's like, I know your spouse. It's like,
well, the sequence is rough. National anthem.
I'm the person who's still married. This is the second one. I was worried after the first one. Now it's track that down. Oh yeah, there's CSI.
Hey John, we're on live stream, so you can't. They can hear everything.
So filter everywhere. We're gonna talk about it.
Forewarning, okay? Everyone you know.
oh my God! We were doing like this, like, you know, like,
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I ask that you please find your seats at this time. As a reminder, please silence or turn off all electronic devices. The ceremony will begin shortly. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Ellsworth Air Force Base and the South Dakota Air and Space Museum. Today, the men and women of the 28th Bomb Wing pay special tribute to Major Jeremy Kirby on the occasion of his retirement from active duty, culminating over 22 years of faithful and honorable service to the United States Air Force and this great nation. I am Senior Master Sergeant retired Joseph Nick Nicosia, and I will be your narrator for today's ceremony. Joining us today are Major Kirby's wife Jenny, their son Paxton, and daughter Gabriella. Major Kirby's father, Vern Kirby, his wife Rita Kirby, and Major Kirby's mother, Dee Kirby. Major Kirby's mother-in-law, Meredith Whiting, and the multitude of other family members and friends that have made the long journey to be here with us today. We would also like to welcome all commanders, chiefs, first sergeants, honorary commanders, the men and women of the world's famous 37th and 34th Bomb Squadrons, the 28th Operations Group, and the 28th Bomb Wing, along with all other friends from the Black Hills community. Ladies and gentlemen, please stand for the arrival of the official party, the singing of the national anthem by Senior Airman Rachel Carpo, and the invocation given by Pastor Chris Erickson. Present the colors.
Ho. Hot. Word. Ho. Word. Heart. Halt. Reset. Hearts.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Hold. Heart.
If you'd pray with me. Lord, thank you for allowing us to come together here and celebrate the service that Jeremy has given to this great country. Lord, thank you for giving him a heart to defend and stand up for not only his beliefs and values, but for the beliefs and values of other people. Lord, we pray that this can be a celebration of his service, a way to honor him, remembering the good times, the bad, the stressful, the defeats and victories. And we pray that you bless his family, Jenny, Pax, and Gabby, and whatever season you have coming up for them, Lord, that they know that you are there with them, walking with them every step of the way. We pray that this ceremony can be seen by others as an inspiration for time and service that they can give to their country, that they can be a part of. We thank you for men like him, for men and women that are just willing to sacrifice, to serve and dedicate their life to you, to their family, to our country. We thank you for him, and we thank you for allowing us this time now to honor him. In your name we pray. Amen.
Ladies and gentlemen, please be seated. While we celebrate the accomplishments of Major Jeremy Kirby and his family, it is our tradition to pay tribute to the men and women whose sacrifices helped build this great nation. As you enter the museum this afternoon, you may have noticed a special table to my left. This table is our way of honoring those members of the military profession who are missing from our midst. They are commonly called prisoners of war or missing in action. We call them brothers and sisters. I would like to ask for a moment of silent prayer as the Honor Guard places the Air Force service cover on the empty plate. The table, set for one, is small, symbolizing the frailty of one prisoner alone against his oppressors. Remember. The tablecloth is white, symbolizing the purity of their intentions to respond to our country's call to arms. Remember. The Bible is a symbol of our faith, in a higher power and the pledge to our country, founded as one nation under God. Remember. The single red rose, symbolizing remembrance, reminds us of the families and loved ones of our comrades in arms that kept faith awaiting their return. Remember. The red ribbon, tied prominently on the vase, is a symbol of our continued determination to account for our missing. Remember. A slice of lemon and a small ration of salt on the bread plate reminds us of both their bitter fate and the tears shed by those who patiently wait and pray. Remember. The glass is inverted. They cannot toast with us today. Remember. An Air Force hat symbolizes the power of the greatest Air Force on the face of the earth. Remember. The chair is empty, but they are not here. Remember. The American flag, signifying a solemn reminder that many of our missing men and women may never return to our shores. Remember. All of you who served with them and called them comrades, who depended upon their might and relied upon them for aid, for surely they have not forsaken you. Remember. Lastly, we light the candle, symbolizing a beacon of hope that our missing comrades might one day return to us. Remember. Let me share a quick story. One night during a bombing raid on Hanoi, Captain Jerry Coffey, U.S. Navy, peeked out of his cell window and watched a flight of 4 F-105s during their bombing run. As they pulled up, it was obviously lead was badly hit. Trailing smoke, he broke from the formation, and Jerry watched the damaged bird until it disappeared from sight. He presumed the worst. As he lay there in his cell, reflecting on the image, he composed a toast to the unfortunate pilot and all others who had gone before him. On New Year's Eve, 1968, Captain Tom Story and Jerry were in the Stardust section of Waylow Prison. Jerry whispered the toast under the door to Tom. Tom is enthralled, and despite the risk of terrible punishment, insisted Jerry repeat it several more times until he had committed it to memory. He then promised Jerry when the time came and they were again free men, he would give the toast at the first dining in he attended. Tom's first assignment following release in 1973 was to the United States Air Force Academy. During that same year, the Academy hosted the annual Air Force Conference for General Officers and the associated dining in. Tom found himself seated with General Curtis LeMay and Jimmy Doolittle, two men of heroic proportion. The jovial clinking of glasses accompanied all the traditional speeches and toasts. Then it was Tom's turn. Remembering his promise so many years ago, he proposed Jerry's one more roll. When he was finished, there was total silence. To the men in that room, men who spent their careers flying into combat and laying their lives on the line, it was a stunning toast, and one they would never forget. Please stand and join me in a moment of silence as we remember our comrades in arms. We toast our faithful comrades, now fallen from the sky, and gently caught by God's own hand to be with him on high. To dwell among the soaring clouds they knew so well before, from dawn patrol to victory roll, at heaven's very door. And as we fly among them there, we're sure to hear their plea, take care, my friend, watch your six, and do one more role just for me. I would like to thank Pastor Chris Erickson for the invocation, Senior Airman Rachel Carpo for the singing of our national anthem, and the Ellsworth the Air Force Base Honor Guard. Ladies and gentlemen, please be seated. At this time, we would like to introduce the presiding officer for today's ceremony and Major Kirby's former squadron commander of the United States Air Force Air Demonstration Squadron, the Thunderbirds, Colonel Retired Kevin Robbins.
Good afternoon and welcome. I'll start off with the first lesson for the soon-to-be retiree and the rest of you in uniform can remember it. If your service dress happens to end up by accident or on purpose in the pile of stuff that you're going to donate to the airman's attic, you have a really good reason to say you can't wear a service dress after you're retired. So it works. And thank goodness he didn't ask me to do it in a Thunderbird show suit because I could never fit back into it. So, there we go. Hey, I'm very honored to be here today. I really was honored when Jeremy called and asked me, and I think that he's one of the absolute best for retirement today. One of the best pilots, officers, airmen, instructor, warrior, leader, and I am proud that I had the opportunity to serve with him, and I'm even more proud to call him my friend. So congratulations to you, and thank you very much for this opportunity. My job today really is to tell a bit of Kirby's story, Luke's. Kirby when we were on the team together, but to tell his story, and it's a fantastic story. And if I even do just a so-so job of telling it, we should all walk away today inspired, and we should be inspired to dream bigger dreams and to get our asses up off the couch and actually pursue those dreams. And it doesn't matter how old you are or where you're at in life. That's what I think of when I start to think about this story. And since I'm the storyteller, I can start the story wherever I want. And of the main characters, there is one that's noticeably more likable and attractive than the other. And so I'm going to start with Jenny. That's not Jeremy. So it should not be lost on anybody in this room. The military spouses and military families, they serve, they sacrifice, and they support. And whether it's the long hours, the deployments, the training exercises that we go to, or I think the worst part is the constant uncertainty and unknown. Where's that next assignment? When's that next deployment coming down? We can make long-range plans, but we can't guarantee that we can carry them out because Jeremy signed on the dotted line to train and fight our nation's wars and to be ready to do that 24/7, 365. And so there's no doubt in anyone's mind, those that know and love Jeremy in this room and outside the room, that he's a better man because of you and with you, and especially with those two right there. So there's no doubt that you knew what was coming. You have a family with a strong history of military service, but you signed right up and you jumped in with both feet. And I want to thank you for your sacrifice and your service, and for that Paxton and Gabriel as well. So thank you very much. Okay, I forget. Did I mention that the main character is less attractive and less likable? I forget if I did that or not. But anyway, well, let's start. He grew up in Arizona, and he cannot remember a time ever when his objective was going to be that he wanted to be an Air Force pilot. He wanted to fly for the United States Air Force. And I'm like, how did you get that? And he goes, I can't remember ever not having that, but he attributes it to his dad, Vern, who's an Air National Guard. Thank you for your service, sir. And also to a cousin of his that unfortunately passed away quite a while ago, but he flew A-10s active duty, F-15s in the Air National Guard, and was subsequently an airline pilot after that. So huge influences on his life. And Kirby, you know, this is the Kirby we all know and love, that right away, even in high school, he's like, man, I know what I want to do, so I'm going to leave all my friends in high school. I'm going to switch to this other high school where I don't really know anybody, but has an ROTC program that has a better shot at getting me to where I want to go. So he does that. He's like, I don't know how I, at that point in my life, knew to think that, but he did, and he made that happen. The next part of the story is the Kirby that I don't really recognize, but it's a good part of the story. And so he goes to Arizona State University, and I think everybody knows ASU is kind of known as a party school. What you might not know is it was not known as a party school until Jeremy went there. He did not let classes or academics get in the way of his party, and had not surprising results, and ended up essentially flunking out a little bit. And I'm not sure exactly how the story went, but it went something like this. He goes to his dad and he says, "Dad, I messed up." And Dad says, "Yep, you did. And you got a couple months to figure out what you're going to do and get out of this house." Nice parenting, well played, sir, nicely done. And so his goal doesn't change. He still wants to be the pilot. But now he knows the route to get there is going to be different than what he thought it was. But he's like, still want it, so he goes down to the local recruiter. Recruiter says, "What do you want to do?" He goes, "Well, I need to do something that has to do with airplanes because I eventually want to be flying them." And he goes, "What about a crew chief?" Jeremy doesn't know what that is, but he's like, "I'm going to run a crew, I'm going to be the chief." Yeah, it sounds pretty good. What he didn't know is that he wasn't going to run a crew for a while, and he was going to get intimately familiar, greasy, oily, and learning how to fix aircraft and prepare them for battle. And you're going to do that when it's rain, snow, sleet, hail, heat. It doesn't matter. You're going to be out there doing it. Long hours. Other people in the Air Force do not work in those kind of hours. Long, long, hard hours to do that. But he knew what he wanted to do, and he shifts gears. And you start look through all his performance reports, and you just start to see it build. You see him maturing, you see him growing, you see him learning skill sets, paying attention to mentoring, and taking all those things and becoming who we see him as today. So he goes to basic military training in San Antonio. He goes up to Wichita Falls, Texas, to Shepherd Air Force Base to get some initial training on how to be a crew chief. And he goes to Seymour Johnson. And his words, not mine. He goes, "I thought it was a joke because we really have an Air Force base called Seymour Johnson." And he looked it up and he's like, "They do." So he goes there and learns to work on the F-15E, and immediately starts getting singled out, getting recognized, and building his skill set. And at that time in our Air Force, experience levels among maintenance technicians was really low in the squadron. So there was a concerted effort to keep maintenance folks on the aircraft that they were working on so that they would continue to build experience in that airframe and not go somewhere else and kind of start, not at the bottom, but start over learning the aircraft. It did make exceptions to that when we had exceptional performers that really wanted something. And he really wanted, this probably wasn't the first thing he said, but he really wanted to get back to Phoenix. He wanted to be close to his family. And his mentor said, "Well, if you go to Phoenix and work on the F-16, you're going to Korea." And he goes, "I don't care, I want to go." So he gets an assignment to Phoenix, brand new jet, almost immediately gets made a dedicated crew chief, not an assistant, a dedicated crew chief on a new jet, which is pretty impressive. He starts winning awards, those types of things you see, and then sure enough, 1 year later, man, he's off to Korea. And then in Korea, he's working swings, but he starts supervising, he starts getting put in positions, filling in for folks at much higher rank and responsibility levels. And he basically gets, like probably everyone does when they go to Korea, he goes, "Yeah, I got there and went, wow, I can't believe I'm going to do this for a year." And then immediately just put it in drive and said, "Yep, I'm going to get under this and do this." So at the end of his tour there, where he's really starting to become a leader, really be recognized, somebody, I don't know if it was somebody that was on the Thunderbirds, who says, "Hey, you ought to think about getting on the Thunderbirds." And he goes, "Man, I worked swings my whole career. I fix jets. I don't like them down. I'm not launching pretty shiny jets. I'm fixing jets when they're broke. That's what I do." Until he started to hear rumors that he was going to get assigned to Cannon Air Force Base, which is a garden spot in eastern New Mexico, miles and miles from anywhere. He'll pay for this later, trust me. But anyway, so he goes, "Maybe I should. Las Vegas, Thunderbirds, close to home. I can drive to Phoenix. It's not that far away." So he does it, and I think it was a great thing for all of us, and because he learned so much there and just took everything that he had been working on and truly blossomed. And I also didn't want to be a Thunderbird, and so in my mind, I'm like, I like the folks that went there reluctantly a little bit, because you end up, it's not about going to air shows, it's about representing our airmen, and he did a fantastic job at doing it. And so he goes to the United States Air Force Thunderbirds, and he almost immediately gets made the dedicated crew chief on the number 7 aircraft. Number 7 is the number 2 in the squadron, the operations officer. Does a fantastic job on that. And then the next year, he's the dedicated crew chief on the number 1 jet. And let's face it, the number 1 pilot's really the only one that has a really good skill set and is pretty hard. You want to be on the number 1 aircraft. And it is a coveted position, and there's like about 20, 22 people that are on what's called show line, and they're part of the show. They do the synchronized launch and all that, the marching and all that stuff on the ground as the jets taxi out. And people really want to be on that part of the team. And so not only has he done it the first year, the second year. Does a fantastic job as the #1 dedicated crew chief. The next year, he's a dedicated crew chief on the #8 aircraft, which is the advanced pilot narrator. And when we haven't been, the Thunderbirds haven't been to an air show location for a while, or never been, in the off season, the wintertime, #8 will fly with the dedicated crew chief out to that location to do a survey, make sure that they're squared away and they know what they need to be doing for the air show. And so you can see for a tech sergeant to be flying across the country in the backseat of an F-16 and doing a survey with one other person, there's a lot of responsibility. He did a fantastic job of that. And then he ran the phase, our phase program. And somewhere in here, I catch wind of, he wants to go to officer training school, he'd like some help, wondering if I would, write a letter. I'm like, absolutely, because there's 136 people in that squadron, and you eventually, as the commander, get to know everybody, get to know everybody's name. But Kirby was one of the guys that he walks in a room, he's there. You remember his name immediately. He's got a positive attitude that is infectious, which for a commander, is you want as many of those people around as you can get, because when you're doing your work happily, then you're doing it safer, you're not making as many mistakes, all those things. And he has that impact in a gigantic way on the team, and made an impact on me right away. So I happily wrote the letter. He gets picked up for officer training school, he gets a pilot slot, and he's on his way. He goes, so not only did he get a pilot slot, now as he goes to officer training school, it's very competitive to go to what's called NJEP, Euro-NATO Joint Jet Pilot Training. About 50% U.S. personnel, 50% from other NATO countries, instructors and students. And when you graduate there, you have to be fighter qualified. Doesn't mean anymore that you're going to get a fighter necessarily, but you have to be fighter qualified, which at least the spiel they get, which I don't think it happens very often, is you might make it through a normal pilot training base, but if you're not fighter qualified, you'll actually wash out of this one. So it's a big scare. I don't know if that's ever even happened, but when you're going to pilot training, you think about that. So he goes to NJEP to get his wings. He gets a B1. Goes to Dias to get trained. This is when he meets Jenny. It's right during this part. And as he told me, we talked earlier in the week. He goes, "Yeah, she's a pilot. She races snow machines. She's a collegiate skeet shooter. She rides motorcycles." And so you realize, he was single for a long time, but he was just waiting to go, "Yeah, I want my wife and my mother and my kids to be a badass." And so he waited and he got Jenny. So he has a badass wife and a badass mom. So nicely done there. Okay, so he goes to Ellsworth, and then he this is what he wanted to do, right? He gets into B1, and he becomes a aircraft commander and a mission lead. He deploys to Operation Enduring Freedom, and he drops bombs in anger. And he's over there for 6 months, and he does what he's trained to do. And I look at Kirby, and I'm like, I've never seen him raise a fist, get angry, nothing, right? We don't know him the way that he is in the cockpit. And the way that he is in the cockpit, I can guarantee you, when he straps that jet on, he is an ice in his veins, stone cold killer. Not because he wants to kill people, but he wants to do the job that his nation has asked him to do and what he's trained for. And I guarantee you, when you walk away from the uniform, you'll probably never, ever be as technically proficient in anything in your life again. I don't see it in my life, but it might happen at some point. But you guys here and Kirby, you trained so well and over and over and over again to do that job, and it's an incredible thing. So he's accomplished his goal, and he's having a blast. Most people at this point would say, "I'm where I want to be," but already he's starting to think about what's next. And that's when I say, when you think about being inspired, we know people who the best thing they've ever done in their life is be a Thunderbird. We all know people who the best thing in their life they ever did was fly whatever they flew in the Air Force, right? And they're just hanging on to the past white knuckle. He's not doing that. That's what's inspiring, because you go, what's the next big thing in life? What's age appropriate for me to do next? What is there? What's the goal that you're going to do? And so he already knows. He's like, he got his Bachelor of Science while he's on the Thunderbirds, and he already knows he wants to take the skills he developed. He wants to develop them even further and go see what he can do on the civilian side. And he also wants to build in some predictability for his family. So I applaud him on all counts there. So he ends up volunteering. You know, hey, I want to be an ALO because there were a bunch of ADOs, Assistant Director of Operations and Squadrons, that he looked up to who had been air logistic or air liaison officers with the Army. So he volunteers to do it because of that respect for them, and also that it aligns him for today, for his retirement. He goes there, they go to Fort Irwin, and this is part of the more sacrifice for Jenny out in the middle of nowhere, working with the Army that definitely has a different mentality. But now he's a flight commander, now he's leading officers, he's leading more and more airmen, and he gets involved in some huge projects and changes to that, and Red Flag West, I think it was, and a huge project that he gets involved in. The job was satisfying, the location was not, and the leadership maybe demanded a little too much, 24/7 being on break. Every day of the week, probably not required in that job, but that's what he had to do. So it was a tough assignment for them. And then we come back, gets rechecked out in the jet, comes back to Ellsworth again, and essentially here we are today, as he now becomes an ADO, one of those guys that I'm sure other people look up to him and do that. And to me, I just look and go, it's a fantastic story. He gets checked out as an instructor, and basically, he, as a tech sergeant, was at the absolute top of his game. He goes to OTS, pilot training, comes anyway. Now as a major retiring, he's at the absolute top of his game. He's right where he ought to be. He's in the sweet spot of an expert in the aircraft, an instructor pilot, and an assistant director of operations. And now he's looking to the future to do something else. Very inspiring, if you ask me. I think it is a great story. Childhood dream, shoot yourself in the foot to create some obstacles for yourself. Overcome those obstacles with hard work, dedication, and maturity. Find the love of your life, have beautiful kids, and have a plan for the future to go, yeah, I want to do more and I want to move on. It's a great story. The best part of this story is I would guess that the best is still yet to come. And, a lot of us, there's a lot of fear associated with getting out of the uniform and going out in civilian land and dealing with that. He has no fear. The hero in our story has no fear. He's like, I'm going to be successful. I'm going to retire. He went and got 2 master's degrees. I'm going to prepare, and I'm going to go out and I'm going to hit this thing, and I'm going to do amazing things in the civilian world, and I'm going to raise my kids and love my wife and have some stability in our life. Hats off to you, Jeremy. You had an absolutely outstanding career. You set the example for all of us, and you still do. As now you're hanging up the uniform. You're still setting the example. I can't wait to see what you do. Thank you very much for having me, and congratulations on 22 and a half years of a phenomenal career and a phenomenal work and dedication to our Air Force and our nation. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Colonel Robbins. Ladies and gentlemen, please stand as Colonel Robbins decorates Major Kirby with the Meritorious Service Medal.
Fathers to the order.
Attention to orders. Citation to accompany the award of the Meritorious Service Medal has been awarded to Major Jeremy R. Kirby, 7 March 2016 to 28 June 2019. Major Jeremy R. Kirby distinguished himself in the performance of outstanding service to the United States. Major Jeremy R. Kirby distinguished himself in the performance of outstanding service to the United States while assigned to the 37th Bomb Squadron, 28th Operations Group, 28th Bomb Wing, Ellsworth Air Force Base, South Dakota. During this period, the professional skill, leadership, and ceaseless efforts of Major Kirby contributed to the effectiveness and success of the 28th Bomb Wing as a B-1 instructor pilot and assistant director of operations. He instructed 168 hours of combat training and directed the safe execution of 558 high-risk flight events in preparation for contingency operations, ensuring the 37th Bomb Squadron was 100% combat mission ready. During the squadron's deployment to the United States Pacific Command, he acted as garrison commander while training and mentoring the remaining 16% of the squadron, as well as coordinating daily communications with operations group and bomb wing leadership. Finally, Major Kirby led 4 higher headquarters directed sorties in support of the continuous bomber presence mission, integrating with 3 allies and demonstrating the coalition combat power in order to deter North Korean aggression. The singularly distinctive accomplishments of Major Kirby culminated a distinguished career in the service of his country and reflect great credit upon himself and the United States Air Force. Please remain standing as Major Kirby decorates Mrs. Kirby with his Meritorious Service Medal. Mrs. Kirby, please join your husband on the stage.
Publish the order.
Attention to orders. This is to certify that Major Jeremy R. Kirby has awarded his final Meritorious Service Medal to Jenny Lynn Whiting Kirby for faithful support from 17 October 2009 to 31 August 2019. Jenny Lynn Whiting Kirby distinguished herself in the performance of outstanding service to the United States as wife, mother, advisor, and best friend to Major Kirby, her family, and the airmen of the United States Air Force. Her magnificent leadership was crucial to the development of 2 children as she flawlessly oversaw every aspect of their daily life while also managing all of the home's day-to-day responsibilities during a time period where Major Kirby was deployed twice and TDY for over 437 days in a 9-year span. Additionally, Jenny also selflessly managed the logistics of moving 4 times across the continent of the United States. Mrs. Kirby also served as a lacrosse coach and started her own business as a professional photographer, all while supporting her husband's crazy schedule. Her leadership and sage advice allowed Major Kirby to achieve heights in his career that would never have been possible without her unyielding support. Her belief in him was the fuel that propelled him to always give his all to his fellow airmen in the United States Air Force. The singularly distinctive accomplishments of Mrs. Jenny Lynn Whiting Kirby culminated a distinguished career in the service of her country and reflect great credit upon herself and the United States Air Force. Please remain standing for the reading of the retirement order.
Publish the order.
Attention to orders. By order of the Secretary of the Air Force and the Department of the Air Force, in accordance with Special Order Number AC-003303, Major Jeremy R. Kirby is hereby relieved from active duty, 28th Bomb Wing, Ellsworth Air Force Base, South Dakota, and is retired from active duty with the United States Air Force effective 31 August 2019. In the grade of Major, after more than 22 years of faithful and honorable service. Ladies and gentlemen, please be seated. Colonel Robbins will now present the retirement certificates. Certificate of Retirement from the Armed Forces of the United States of America. To all who shall see these presents, greetings. This is to certify that Major Jeremy Kirby, having served faithfully and honorably, will be retired from the United States Air Force on 31 August 2019. Signed, General David L. Goldfein, Chief of Staff, United States Air Force, and Colonel John R. Edwards, Commander, 28th Bomb Wing. At this time, Jenny will come forward to pin on the Air Force retired lapel pin as a symbol of Major Kirby's faithful and devoted service. The United States Air Force retirement label pin, lapel pin, is symbolic of 20 years or more of honorable service to our country. Retirees should wear the pin proudly to signify their contributions to America's welfare and security. Jenny, please remain on stage as Colonel Robbins presents your certificates and appreciation. In grateful appreciation, the United States Air Force presents this certificate of recognition to Mrs. Jenny Kirby for her commitment and contributions that have made numerous positive impacts on this nation's defense. Thank you for your support, which gave strength and purpose to your spouse's service. Given this 21st day of June, 2019, signed Colonel John R. Edwards, Commander, 28th Bomb Wing. Ladies and gentlemen, it is my distinct honor to present to you for the first time Major Retired Jeremy R. Kirby.
I'm not using the microphone because the room is way too small. Okay, so first I just want to say thank you guys so much for attending. All of the members of the 20th Bomb Wing that are here today, all over the base, thank you so much for taking your time out of your day and being here with me and my family and my friends for this. Thank you so much. I'd also like to thank my brother from another mother, Nick Nicosi over here, for coming all the way from the East Coast, leaving your family behind to do this for me, man. And words cannot explain how much that means to me. And bro, thank you for putting this on. Strike did a fantastic job. He's been working really hard at putting this all together, so thank you so much. And Hollywood, man, I can't thank you enough. Just moved from Alaska to Montana. You have a newborn little lady, and you still were able to make time to come out here and do this for me. So thank you with all my heart for doing this. I appreciate it. So there's a few people that I would like to thank individually. The first one being my mom. Ma, you've been my constant cheerleader and inspiration, and you pushed me, and I just want to give you a small token of my appreciation for all the continued support that you've given me in my military career. Dad, I don't have flowers for you. I think you're okay with that. But thank you for being. I'm getting emotional. Okay. Thank you for being that voice when I needed it. The voice of reason. You know, keeping me on track. You know, when I was a young airman, I made some stupid mistakes. And I just thank you so much for support and. You know, every time that I came with you with a problem, you had a very methodical answer and solution for me. So thank you for that. And you and Rita for, you know, just all the love that you bring and give to our family. Thank you so much. Meredith, thank you and Bill for your daughter. Oh, can't thank you enough for that, as well as the open arms that your whole family, the Whitings and the Hermans have given to me and brought me into the fold. And I just appreciate every moment that we spend together, and looking forward to future visits with the grandkids. So I'd like to give you a small token of appreciation with another few flowers. Thank you so much. Paxton and Gabby, can you guys come up front real quick? I have some presents for you. So, can I read this? Can I read this for you? Are those your names? It says, on the occasion of your father's retirement from active duty, I would like to thank you on behalf of the men and women of the 28th Bomb Wing and the United States Air Force for your relentless support of your father's career. You, unfailing perseverance and understanding, helped bring out those values and skills that made him successful, able to serve his country with pride and distinction. Through your efforts, you have perpetuated the strength of our country's defense by giving your father to our service as others have done before you. We wish you happiness and health. This is from Daddy's big boss, Colonel Edwards. And guess what else? finally, I want to talk about my wife because I got everybody in the room. And if you've been around me long enough, you know that when she comes up in conversation, I just end up bragging about her. So Hollywood touched on it a little bit, but when we met each other, she had come down to, drove down to Texas with her dad to pick up some of her sister's stuff that she had left. Her sister was a few classes ahead of me in pod training. And all weekend, unknowingly, he was just bragging about her, but basically putting it all on the table, and there's already an attraction. And he was just telling me how, yeah, she's a collegiate trap shooter and lacrosse player. She's drag races snowmobiles. She's a private pilot, solo jumper, drives motorcycles since she was 15, flies airplanes. I was like, holy smokes. This girl brings it to the table. I need to look more into this. Over a bottle of Jack Daniels and 2 small white fluffy puppies, I'm pretty sure that that's how I sealed that deal. But I just wanted to thank you, babe, for everything, for all the support, and present you with this bouquet of flowers. So nobody can do 20 plus years of service without a network like this, right? So you're not doing this stuff by yourself. You know, Hollywood told my story, but really it was a culmination of a lot of people interacting in my life and kind of helped guiding me on different paths that I was taking. So having mentorship throughout my career, not with just my family and friends network, but even starting at my first duty station with my very first flight chief, and going through each base, those guys and gals really set me up for success. Their knowledge, mentorship, and friendship have guided me on this path, and they continue to push me to this day in directions sometimes I never thought that I would want to go or should go or would excel at. And so it's important for those of you in the room that are in leadership positions to ensure that you have good mentorship relationships with those needs, because you don't know how impactful that could be to their lives until maybe they come and tell you or something happens. But everything that you say and do for yours, people that you're working with, even your peers, can be impactful. So keep up the mentorship. It's been a huge part of my career, and I thank every single one of my previous supervisors for that. Okay. Now let's get into the fun stuff. So I decided that I wasn't going to go back over my entire career since Hollywood went ahead and spoke about it. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go with the top 10 best experiences of my Air Force career, with the caveat minus the marriage to my wife and the birth of my children. So we're just talking about Air Force experiences. Okay, number 10. Which most people probably don't think this is on my list, but it was being an ALO at Fort Hood. I will say that the duty location was the absolute worst. Absolute worst. Even the Army guys there hated it. So if they don't like it, then it's got to be bad. But on a professional development level, the things that I learned, the experiences that I had, the programs and projects that I got to do, the guys, JTACs, and the maintenance guys that I got to supervise, it was a fantastic experience. I will never forget that. Super grateful to have been able to accomplish that. Number 9, flying 500 feet in IR 499 through Wyoming and then popping up over Jackson Hole, which has a very warm place in mine and Jenny's family's heart, is an incredible experience. Even for the aft station, who has a very small window to look through. That was my last flight on a couple weeks ago. We got to do that, and we were like eye level with a lake. Like, that was freaking sweet. And we're going so fast, and it's the only time that you can really see how fast this jet is and how incredible and powerful it really is. Number 8, Shady and I got to be in Eleno in Germany. I randomly got to say, hey, you might go do this. There's something about JTAX, whatever. You're qualified. Okay, cool. So we went to Germany and we show up, and lo and behold, every rental car in Germany has a manual operation. So there's like pretty much no automatic cars. So we get to the duty location to be the LNO, and the guy that's supervising us says, hey, you guys split your time amongst yourselves just as long as one person is here between these hours. You guys make up your own schedule. I was like, all right, well, that's sweet. And then Shady turns around to me, he's like, dude, I can't drive stick shift. Like, I don't have it. So we got to figure something out. I'm like, okay, let's go get an automatic. So we call around to every place. Nobody in this Hertz, whatever it was, has an automatic car. Right next to our hotel, there's a different car place, so I walk over there, and they're like, sure, yeah, we can give you an automatic car. Do you want the Mercedes-Benz, or do you want the Jaguar? And I was like, well, let's go with the Jaguar, because variations were authorized, so why not? So getting to drive a Jaguar on the Autobahn in Germany was fantastic. I'm pretty sure we hit 337 kilometers per hour. Number 7, the completion of educational goals. I'll say that the time that it took for me to complete my bachelor's was massive. 10 years, and I finally got this silly thing done. But really, you know, the career field that isn't in time, you're just humping it, you're working with your buddies, and you're putting in every effort, piece of blood, sweat, and tears that you got to get it done, right? And it wasn't until I was on the demo team that I was able to, hey, I got to buckle down. Freaking getting old in relation to the age for becoming pilot training. So that's when I really focused, and having the military to pay for that, man, was a fantastic thing. And then moving on and being able to knock out my goals on my graduate degrees, like that experience doing that through the Air Force was just fantastic. Okay, number 6, my Korea experience. So I will say that the majority of my stories in Korea cannot be told here. They must be done at a bar with a beverage in hand. But what I will tell you is it was the first time that I was out of the country in a new environment. So I think that the thing that I take away from Korea was just embracing that culture and learning something new, expanding my bubble, having a new perspective on how everything runs outside of my world. And when you're in Korea, you can do a mid-tour and take some leave. And you could go home, you could go, somewhere cool, go to some beaches or whatever. And I decided that I was going to tour Korea and kind of learn about the culture. Man, I'm super glad that I did that. I learned so much about the Korean culture, and that kind of actually enhanced the rest of my tour while I was there. Number 5. So my selection to OTS was cool because all the officers on the team at the time came in with a bottle of champagne and said congratulations. But in my style, how I like to surprise people, I went to Hollywood and I said, hey, we got to keep this a secret. Luckily, social media wasn't as crazy. We got to keep this a secret, and we're going to announce this at the Luke Air Force Base Air Show to my family while you're up in front of them, giving them the standard thing. They call it a FARPA, but it's friends, family, relatives, blah, blah, blah. I can't remember all this stuff. But basically, the officers get up in front of your family. The number 1 tells your story, just kind of like you did today. You get to take some pictures and whatnot. So Hollywood gets up there, and he starts talking about me and saying, yeah, Kirby wants to go to OTS, and it's a really hard program. Not everybody gets in it, but he made it, and he's not only going to OTS, but he's going to become a pilot, and that just like lit the house. It was so cool. There was probably like 50 or 60 people there, friends and family, and it was just what an incredible moment. Thank goodness one of my best friends got that on video. I watched that thing over and over again. UPT graduation. So the graduation for me from UPT was of great significance. One, because it was like, man, cool, I made it. But it was, so a lot of people in this room can attest. And especially at the age I was at 30 years old, and being surrounded by these young kids who just graduated college and were adept at studying, and man, all this stuff. It wasn't the flying that was difficult. It was all of the knowledge that was required for you to be able to memorize and regurgitate and know and learn, all for good reason that I found out later in life. But that, being able to achieve that and get my wings pinned on and graduate from that was just such an incredible, heartwarming experience. Friends and family got to come and be part of that, and man, I will never forget my UPT graduation. So, Hollywood already stole my thunder and told you guys why I applied to the demo team, but number 3 is basically my entire experience being a Thunderbird. That place, it's got its own culture. It's a cool culture. You get there at the time, and you go through a program, and you have to know and learn everything in the history of that entire squadron. And then they would bring you in similar to Tiger style, and ceremonially give you your patch. And then immediately you're part of the team. You would go and meet every single person in the squadron and learn something about them. It was like part of your in-processing. Just all these little things that would happen. We were on the road forever. We're basically family. For 5 years of my life, I'm just on the road with these people doing the same hard job that I was doing as a crew chief, but now we're piling different things on top of that. Social events, all these other demanding things, going into schools, helping out the local community. The whole experience overall was an incredible thing that, man, I will never forget. Number 2, a lot of people probably think this is my number 1. This is my number 2. So my combat deployment to Afghanistan with the 34th Bomb Squadron, when I got to drop bombs with Wham in anger against our enemies, was just the culmination of everything. I think I self-actualized in that moment. And pretty much everything, I wouldn't say downhill from there, but I was kind of on cruise control at that. We'll put it in that way. Still charging ahead, getting the job done. But man, I tell you what, job satisfaction was 100%. Okay, so my number 1 thing, best experience, is something that I experienced at literally every assignment that I've had. Every assignment. This is gonna be hard to talk about. I have another drink of water. There's one thing that military service does that makes it very passionate, brings people together, and makes the sacrifice worth it. All right, shake it off. That's brotherhood. Serving next to someone and experiencing the same difficult situations and stress and being in combat, being outside in crappy weather, working on people who constantly break your jet, constantly breaking jets and bringing them back. All the things that we experience together, it bonds us. And I was trying to find like a cool quote that I can conceptualize that experience in. I was searching the internet, I was looking up Lance Brothers and all these other things. I could not find anything specific enough for what I felt over these last 20 years. So I came up with my own thing to say. Can you quote me on this? Nothing is stronger than brotherhood that is forged from blood, sweat, and tears. The camaraderie that is created when men and women are subjected to intense stress and hardship while working towards the common goal of protection and freedom and of each other builds the bonds of brotherhood that can never be broken. So I'm going to end that there, and I just want to again thank everybody. I cannot wait for us to get this party started tonight. Start having some beverages of choice. I'm looking forward to seeing all of you and talking with all of you later today. Thank you.
I think I need to compose myself. Thank you, Major Kirby. Ladies and gentlemen, please remain seated as the Ellsworth Honor Guard performs the flag holding ceremony. more than 200 years, the American flag has been the symbol of our nation's unity, as well as a source of pride and inspiration for millions of citizens. Born on June 14, 1777, the Second Continental Congress determined that the flag of the United States be 13 stripes, alternating between 7 red and 6 white, and that the Union be 13 stars, white in a blue field, representing a new constellation. Between 1777 and 1960, the shape and design of the flag evolved into the flag presented before you today. The 13 horizontal stripes represent the original 13 colonies, while the stars represent the 50 states of the Union. The colors of the flag are symbolic as well. Red symbolizes hardiness and valor, white signifies purity and innocence, and blue represents vigilance, perseverance, and justice. Traditionally, a symbol of liberty, the American flag has carried the message of freedom and inspired Americans both at home and abroad. In 1814, Francis Scott Key was so moved at seeing the Stars and Stripes waving after the British shelling of Baltimore's Fort McHenry that he wrote the words to the Star-Spangled Banner. In 1892, the flag inspired Francis Bellamy to write the Pledge of Allegiance, our most famous flag salute and patriotic oath. In July 1969, the American flag was flown in space when Neil Armstrong planted it on the surface of the moon. Today, our flag flies on constellations of Air Force satellites that circle our globe and on the fin flash of our aircraft in harm's way in every corner of the world. Indeed, it flies in the heart of every airman who serves our great nation. The sun never sets on our U.S. Air Force, nor on the flag we so proudly cherish. Since 1776, no generation of Americans has been spared the responsibility of defending freedom. Today, airmen remain committed to preserving the freedom that others won for us for generations to come. By displaying the flag and giving it a distinctive fold, we show respect to the flag and express our gratitude to those individuals who fought and continue to fight for freedom at home and abroad. Since the dawn of the 20th century, airmen have proudly flown the flag in every major conflict on lands and skies around the world. It is their responsibility, our responsibility, to continue to protect and preserve the rights, privileges, and freedoms that we as Americans enjoy today. The United States flag represents who we are. It stands for the freedom we all share and the pride and patriotism we feel for our country. We cherish its legacy as a beacon of hope to one and all. Long may it wave. Major Kirby, on behalf of your brothers and sisters in arms, we are proud to have served with you and wish the best for you and your family in all of your future endeavors. Ladies and gentlemen, at this time, I would ask that you please stand for the playing of the Air Force song and the departure of the official party. Off we go.
they come, zooming to meet our thunder. Attaboys, give her the gun.
Give her the gun!
Down we dive, starting our flames from under. Off with one hell of a roar. We live in fame, go down in flames. Hey, nothing can stop the U.S. Air Force.
This concludes the retirement ceremony. Thank you for being with us today. Please join Major Kirby and his family for the reception at Murphy's Bar and Grill this evening at 5 p.m. This will be the opportunity to give any presentos, telling stories, roasting, good or bad, in true Air Force fashion. And remember, it only needs to be 10% of the truth. Thank you all.
So awesome.
I know, aren't they beautiful?
Pax, did you get some flowers, dude? Atta boy.
Exactly. There's a baseball commercial. It's literally
Is that cool?
It's cute.
That's awesome. Yeah, it was just whoever your cameraman was.